Hi, welcome to the Adventures of the Widow Flanagan. I'm Dara, and I unfortunately lost the love of my life, my husband, 9 months ago. And today's story is about the worst thing anyone ever said to me following my husband's passing. And you guys, horrific. Maybe not to you guys, but to me, it was a friend of ours that we've known since 2018. I was filling in karaoke at the American Legion because Stacy deserved a break more than anybody I know. And he came in at the end of the night when I was closing up, and I closed up the karaoke stuff, and I sat down at the bar a few seats away from him, and he said, "Where's your old man?" And I said, you don't know. I said, he passed 3 weeks ago from cancer. And he was obviously shocked. And then he looked straight at me and he said, "I always assumed you'd go first because you're obese." Yep. Somebody I thought was a dear person in my life looked at me and said, "I always thought that you would die first because you are so fat." Can you imagine me sitting there and that's the first thing he said? I was very surprised, but I was also taking Xanax at the time, prescribed Xanax. And at the time, I was able to just pretend like it didn't happen and just get my stuff together and leave. And then in the car, you guys, I had a meltdown, and the mile to my house was horrible. And the next 2 days were shitty. You know what I mean? This is my friend. Not anymore. You know, they tell you that you find out who your friends are in times of tragedy, and turns out he definitely is not one. Finds out that I lost my husband, looks at me and says, "I always thought you would go first because you're so obese." Yep. Nice, right? So, yeah. So the reason I was thinking about that is because my dad and I are on a road trip up to Wisconsin for a family reunion. And I know that none of them will say that because they're my family and they love me and they're amazing people. But just knowing that I'm walking into a room full of people who have not seen me since my husband died, some of them I haven't seen in years, always makes me a little anxious because I don't know what they're going to do, you know? The next worst thing that I think people have said is, "Oh my God, I can't believe how hard that must be. I can't even imagine losing my husband. I mean, you must want to turn around all the time and be like, oh, hey, da da da," and he's not there. Y'all, let's try to be intentional with what we're saying to people who are in deep grief or any grief of any kind. Let's try and or just generally talking to people. Thank you for reminding me of every single thing that I lost. Thank you. Thanks. That's what I needed, was to be reminded of all the ways that he's not in my life anymore. And all the ways I can't turn to him and say something. And then I feel obligated to turn around and make you know, whoever said that I'm okay and that I'm all right. That's not fair. I shouldn't have to do that. I'm better just because I'm moving forward. I'm not just sitting on the couch and doing nothing. But come on, y'all. Be intentional about how you speak to people. Words matter. And people forget that. Words matter. What you say and how you say it matters. And I know I came to that very late in life. So save your pot, I'm kettle, you're black, stories. But still, what you say to somebody in that moment of need, be intentional. Make sure that it's helpful or it's caring, and don't make it about you. You know, I've had people, that's all they've talked about is, I can't imagine what you're going through. I can't imagine what you're going through. I'm so sorry. This must be the hardest thing and it must be so awful. Yes, it's all of those things, but I don't need you to remind me every 5 seconds of absolutely everything that I've lost and the fact that my life that I had is completely gone. And I have to build from scratch. Which I'm okay with building from scratch, but I just hate that, I'm still grieving my husband. I will always grieve my husband, but I know that I'm taking him with me into this new season of my life. Instead, I used to think that I was leaving him behind, but I am not. I'm taking him with me. He will be right there. Yeah, so just be nice to people. Be intentional. Don't tell somebody who just lost their spouse that you thought they'd die because they were fat. Come on, people. Be better. Do better. Widow Flanagan.